So here I am, and blessed, I have to say blessed. At that time, you're just so short-sighted. You don't see it. Just like that was the career I always wanted, was go to law school. And I finally got in, but I kind of missed that. I felt like I missed that opportunity. But I was blessed. I was able to stay home, raise my 2 kids. And then it was just that, not resentment, that just kind of kept chipping on me. I was like, okay, this is just not going away. I need to do something about it. 10 years later, I get both my kids, who are 6 and 4 years old, into school. And then something in me is like, just give it one last try. And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm 33 right now, 32 at that time. It's late to go to school. I've been like with kids for 10 years. I haven't talked to an adult. I'm like, like academically wide, I'm not on the same level. These fresh college kids are just going to go to law school. So my self-esteem was like low. But something in me was just like, just give it one last time, just try. So I didn't tell anybody that I was studying for the LSAT, except my mom, who would notice my absence, and my then husband at the time. I would put my kids at school and just study for 3 months. I was like, you know what? This is it. Let me just try. And so I did it. And then my luck unfortunately, because of my ex-husband's career was here in Atlanta, I only could apply to a few schools that offered part-time because I had kids. So I was like, okay, my chances are getting slimmer and slimmer. So there was like 2 or 3 schools I could apply to. Thank God, when I got that acceptance letter, I was like, that's all I needed. I just need to know that I could do it.
Welcome to this edition of City on a Hill. I'm your host, Whitney Mendoza, and today I am joined by Nooshin Bagheri, and she is an immigration attorney and owner of Bagheri Law Firm. Welcome, Nooshin.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here.
Excited.
So I kind of teased this episode on my Instagram just before we went live, and I said one of the things that I love about doing podcasts is that I get to not be the smartest person in the room. Like, I really love when I'm not the smartest person in the room, because that means I'm meeting new people and hearing new conversations. And today, I'm not the smartest person.
Oh my gosh. You're too funny.
100% no. So I'm super excited about our conversation. Tell our listeners a little bit about you and what you do.
Okay. My name is Nooshin Bagheri. I am actually born in, everyone always asks, where are you from? So I'm actually born and raised here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a Southern Belle.
Nice. Yes.
But I am a first-generation American. My family immigrated from Iran. I have my own practice in immigration law, and I'm here located in Atlanta. However, since it's based on federal law, I'm able to help clients all across the U.S. and even abroad with any of their immigration questions and processes.
Nice. So why did you pick immigration law as a practice?
One thing I think I just have, so personally I'm an empathetic person, and so when you deal with immigration or immigrants, in that area of law, you really have to see the human side of your clientele. This is just not paper pushing. This is not like, it's definitely not the area of law that you're making the money in. So you really want to be there to help the people that you're helping. I don't have that personality for a litigator. I think it's great, but it's just not me. I really like to connect with my clientels. At the end of my cases, they become like family, because I feel like I could relate to them. I myself, I did not immigrate myself, so I didn't experience a lot of these people they have done, but my parents have. My parents came from Iran probably about 50, 60 years ago.
Wow.
And it's just being raised in kind of dual identity of being American yet Iranian has been interesting. And my dad always still enforcing the traditions, the culture, the language. And so back then, you just wanted to fit in, but now it's been great because now it helps me in my career. Now I can speak to my clients in Farsi. Yeah. I can help them. I can relate to them. I know when you're dealing with these clients, you have to know the tradition as well, because every client from different parts of the world, they have different ways of how you communicate, how you do transactions, and you have to be aware of that and sensitive to that. And so I just had this relatable touch to, immigrants and foreigners, grew up around them, and so traveled a lot. Traveling is one of my favorite things to do. So I just feel very relatable to it.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting that you say they become like family after, because this is quite a process, yes? Like, it's months long.
Oh, it could be
very
years.
Intensive. Years? Oh,
it could be at least a year or so, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I've never personally been through the process, but I do have friends that have been. So walk us through, because what I admire about this process, when you are immigrating into the United States, the test, if you will, that you go through, like most of those individuals probably know more than I do about my own country by the time they get through, which is always amazing to me, right? Because I think there's just a different level of respect and appreciation that comes out of that. So walk us through a little bit of like the process to actually go through this and why it takes so long.
So there's multiple processes. There's so what I like to say in immigration, it could be divided in 3 subsections, and not all immigration cover all sections. We have one section which is the asylum and the deportations that you hear about in the news all the time.
Sure.
There is work-based visas and green cards where people will want to work for an employer here someone from abroad wants to work for an employer here, either temporarily or eventually try to get a green card through their employer to be able to stay and work. And then there's family-based, which those are the majority of cases I handle, where you have loved ones here who want to bring their family from abroad, or even if the loved one happens to be here in the U.S., to have them stay and get a green card. And then there's the ones who have the green card who become U.S. citizens. And so the funny thing about the test, and everyone thinks it's easy and so forth, but it's not an easy process. There's a lot of security background checks. And one of the reasons delays before, it used to be kind of a little bit quicker, like it could have taken months, but pre-COVID, everything had, like the government had, what we deal with a lot is the government agencies, and so they would have deadlines to respond. But after COVID, that's been out of the loop. So something that used to take 8 months could take a year or longer, and especially the ones who try to bring family from abroad, like you have to wait for these embassies that were shut down for months because of COVID, try to open up and catch up on cases, and they could be waiting, and their file could be sitting on a table for like a year or two just to get processed. And of course, there's consideration of security checks. It depends on everyone's case. Sometimes if depending where you're coming from, there's more scrutiny in security checks. So that's why it's going to take longer. So there's no predictability of how long a case could take.
Wow.
Every person's different, and you have to understand, you have to know the background of it to kind of get a better idea of what to expect.
Sure.
So I'm dealing with these clients, they're especially, they're impatient. They want their families here. They want their wives here. They want their fiance. And it's really struggling because you can only do so much, and it's just a waiting game most of the time, and just kind of have to trust the process.
So what do you typically do in the waiting? I felt like Tom Petty, right? Waiting is the hardest part when you turn everything in and you're just waiting on that answer.
I luckily have great clients that, they trust me and they trust what I've done for them when we submit their application. And I do tell them up front, it is a waiting period. We can only do so much. Just kind of hang in there. And luckily, I don't have the clients that call emails and calls 100 times, what's the status of my case? What's the status of my case? So they're all understanding. And luckily, I've not had to deal with that. Everyone's been patient. And I always tell them, listen, if you don't get a results now, that's actually a good sign. That means they haven't declined your case yet. The longer it's processing, there's still a chance that you'll get accepted. So it's not a bad sign that you haven't got denial yet.
Yeah. So what's one thing you wish everyone knew about immigration law that most people just don't realize?
I think it was interesting. I met this one lady in in the airport, and we were just talking, and she didn't have any kind of immediate immigration background, if you want to say that. And when she found out I was an immigration attorney, she was asking me about what's going on with the border. And what I told her, and because her reaction made me realize people don't see it this way. They don't see the humanity side of immigration. Like, for example, I don't deal with the asylum cases or deportation cases, but I actually on my side help a lot of refugees. And so that's a little bit like asylum, but you get processed outside the country, where asylums are trying to get processed while they're in the country. And one thing I told this lady was you have to imagine the humanity of it, where you have mothers giving their kids to strangers to bring them to the border, to come across this border to a new world. They don't know the language, don't have anybody waiting for them. You have to imagine how bad the conditions must be in your country, that you're just trying to save your child from getting killed by gangs or something horrible happening, or being recruited into some guerrilla gangs or so forth. As a mother, for you to depart from your child, you have to imagine how bad it must be to let them go and not know their whereabouts for the rest of their lives. That could happen. And so you have to see the humanity part of it. They're just trying to save their lives. Nobody, a lot of people, in fact, especially like refugees, they don't necessarily want to be here. They want to be back home. They had the life. They were doctors. They were professors. They were scholars. It's just that war has caused them to have to like flee to safety. And so they come here and now they're like Uber drivers. They're, waiters or something. They're not who they used to be. They had it made back home. So you have to realize how bad it must be to pick up and go. Not a lot of people voluntarily want to come and go, but the situation is so bad, you're just trying to save your child's life or your own life.
Yeah. I can see your heart of empathy in this. I mean, I'm trying to think of the closest thing, which does not hold a candle, but I was almost thinking of like your first job when you graduate. And of course, back when we used to go into the office. So I guess maybe this has changed a little bit, but I just remember like the sea of cubicles and kind of being like, which one is mine? What am I supposed to do here? I don't know. You're talking shorthand to me. This is all new. Like in imagining that times 10 of adding on, where am I going to live? I don't understand, the customs, the language barrier, just like you said, kind of being thrown in this sea of uncertainty and then having to navigate around that.
Yeah, it's rough. They do well. They want to take advantage of the opportunities this country has. They want to go to school. They want to do better. They want to go, send money, support their families. Their intentions, majority of them become successful, because they're working hard. They know the opportunities. They don't take it for granted what's offered here.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to learn about Nooshin and what led you on this journey of, this is what I have to do with life. These are the people I need to help.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something about me. I enjoy helping people. So for the longest time, before even getting to, because I went to law school later in life, and before I went to law school, one of the things I would do while I was raising my kids was I would help the refugee community here. So in the U.S., there's 5 major cities that take in refugees, and there's nonprofits that help them resettle. However, when they get resettled by these nonprofits, they only get assistance for like 3 months, and then they're on their own. And can you imagine? You're from one country coming over here with your family. You're just given 3 months of assistance, a little bit of financial assistance, a little bit of English lessons, and potentially trying to help you find a job. But after that, you're on your own. Like, how do you figure out? Like, if someone just threw me to another country, I'd be like, no, help, So me and my friend, me and my friend were doing it together, but now I've been doing it on my own the last few years, where we would make connections with these nonprofit organizations and see where they're left off after just 3 months of what are the needs of these refugees. Let us help on the after side. So we started doing donation drives. So I do annual, biannual donation drives. I raise funds from my community of people that I know. I raise cash, and I use that to buy exactly what they need, like toiletry items, things that food stamps can't cover, heavy items that you don't even consider, like laundry detergent or bags of rice, because they don't have cars, and to go on a bus to find a store that's nearby and bring all this stuff when you have like kids and everything around you, especially for the woman who goes shopping. It's a lot. So I do that every year, and then try to help relieve some of buy the higher expensive like toiletry stuff that they can use their food stamps for other stuff. And then the last couple of years I just add on an annual coat drive, because they're coming here. When you are coming as a refugee, you have like one suitcase, you got to pack, you got to get out, you don't have all the things that you need. So for the harsh winters that are coming here, the least we can do is provide brand new coats, and they get so excited and so appreciative. Like, the kids just love having their own little coat. It's just like the simple things that make them happy.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think
that's beautiful.
So my love for helping the refugee, I think that's also got me into doing immigration law as well. So it's like an extension, and I just feel this calling that, okay, I've been blessed in life, and me being blessed is for me to give back, is to give what I'm given. And so that's just my rule. I try to teach my kids that, try to teach as much, for them to give back. We're blessed enough that it's hard, and that's a test of life, I think, like to give. It's funny. It's hard for some people to give money, but then I realized the test is, if you do, even in your tightest times, you actually get tenfold back.
Right. That's so true.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So I'd love to go deeper with that, and I will let you share what you would what you want to of your story. But the other thing that I really love about this podcast is a lot of my guests, even though it maybe looks like the timeline was the normal timeline that we as society put on it, if you dive in a little bit deeper, it's actually not. There's always something that maybe isn't told or isn't shared that was a speed bump along the way. No matter how early or how late in the game you feel like you got started. And so I love being able to dive into those stories and just even see how it changes, because even at the start of we feel like we have everything figured out, something comes along and says, ha 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 ha, time to change. So, but what I love about that though is the point that you do have so much time and you truly can, if what you want to do is start a business, you can do that at any time. If what you want to do is start a nonprofit, you can do that at any time. If you want to start volunteering, no, for real, you can do that at any time. Definitely. So share just a little bit about your journey to where you are today.
Yes. So my timeline, like we've talked a little bit before, is that it's very different. And I've had to come to terms with that, because I always felt like, why am I feel like this is always an uphill battle? But then you see the blessings of it and the timing of it. And I really believe God has a reasons for everything and why you're not given at that time. So before, I went to undergrad, then I actually got a lot of people don't know, I actually went and got my master's in public international affairs. And I wanted to, work at a nonprofit at that time or work at an embassy, had that going on. And then, you meet at that time the love of your life. You get married. And it's funny because I actually got into law school right after my master's, but I put that aside temporarily thinking, to support my husband at the time for his career. And then I was like, oh, I'll go back. Well, that didn't happen. The going back part didn't happen because once, his career started taking off, then we had kids. So here I am, and blessed, I have to say blessed. At that time, you're just so short-sighted. You don't see it. Just like that was the career I always wanted, was go to law school. And I finally got into it. I kind of missed that. I felt like I missed that opportunity. But I was blessed. I was able to stay home, raise my 2 kids. And then it was just that not resentment that just kind of kept chipping on me. I was like, okay, this is just not going away. I need to do something about it. 10 years later, I get both my kids who are 6 and 4 years old into school. And then something in me is like, just give it one last try. And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm 33 right now, 32 at that time. It's late to go to school. I've been like with kids for 10 years. I haven't talked to an adult. I'm like, like academically wide, I'm not on the same level. These fresh college kids are just going to go to law school. So my self-esteem was like low. But something in me was just like, just give it one last time, just try. So I didn't tell anybody that I was studying for the LSAT, except my mom, who would notice my absence, and my then husband at the time. I would put my kids at school and just study for 3 months. I was like, you know what, this is it, let me just try. And so I did it. And then my luck unfortunately was because of my ex-husband's career was here in Atlanta, I only could apply to a few schools that offered part-time because I had kids. So I was like, okay, my chances are getting slimmer and slimmer. So there was like 2 or 3 schools I could apply to. Thank God, when I got that acceptance letter, I was like, that's all I needed. I just need to know that I could do it,
so
that I could do it. I was just like relieved. And I will never forget my dad. He was such a big promoter of his daughters getting education, and he was proud of me getting my master's. And usually, they think, oh, you're married off, you're taken care of. But when I told him I got to law school, I could just hear the sigh of relief that she could take care of herself now. She's good now. She's going to get this education. She can stay on her own 2 feet if she needs to, which in hindsight, yes. So I went to school, later in life. I was, 33, but 2 small kids. I'm glad I didn't know what law school entailed at the time because it was tough. It was tough managing, but every minute of my day was timed. I did it in 4 years instead of the typical 3 for the part-time program, then another year for the bar. And so I literally just graduated from law school 2016. And here I am, almost 45 years old, where people my age have been practicing for 15 years now. And so then after I passed the bar, I was still married at the time, and my husband then had a really busy schedule. And so I was kind of thrown to start my own business because I was like, one of us has to have the flexible schedule. And I've always told myself, yes, I'm going to pursue what I want to pursue, but my kids should not be neglected because I initially was there for them. I can't just change their life like that. So I started my own practice, which once again, another, I wish someone told me as well. But I was like, okay. I think what happened was one lawyer tried to tell me, no, you shouldn't do it. It's a lot of liability. I was like, no, I'm going to do it. So I was like, I'm going to prove them wrong.
Nice.
And so I think everyone was in shock that I went to school. They're like, why do you need to go back to school? You don't need it. You're supported, this, that. I'm like, it's not about being supported. It's like for myself.
Right,
I am my own individual. I'm smart enough. I have my own aspirations and dreams. Why should it be stopped because I'm married to someone who's pursuing his own career? What about mine? I have 2 kids, especially boys. My mindset was I have 2 boys that they're going to leave. I want them to live their own life. I need something for myself. So this is establishing my foundation for later in life when my kids leave. And so a lot of people didn't think that way. Or I thought, God forbid something was to happen, I need to be a provider for my children at one point. You just don't know what life brings you. So just even having that degree, whether I used it or not, at least I had something to fall back on. I had to be smart. You have to be smart in this society. So then I started the business, and it was interesting because in law school, you don't specialize like in medicine. So you just learn general, and you usually learn it on the job. Well, here I am learning it completely on my own, let alone business, which they don't teach you. So I had to learn how to do marketing, accounting, the law, all of that stuff, write my own contracts. It's been an experience. I'm 5 years in now, and knock on wood, all my cases have been approved. All my clients have been happy. I've been able to be successful in all their processes, so I'm really happy about that. And I love it. I'm glad I learned the foundation up of what it takes instead of, it's in my control and I can give it my personal touch, which I think is very important. Like I want to go with someone that has a personal touch, not a, large firm where you just feel like you're a number. You don't know where your case is at. People deal with me one-on-one when they come work, hire me. So it's been a journey, and it's funny because but one thing I do have to say like I say, I always tell people it's never too late. I went to law school at 33, and I didn't graduate till 2016. So I'm just starting out. But then, and one thing the hard part was I would start comparing myself to other of my colleagues who are practicing 15 years because they went straight from undergrad to graduate to law school and then started working. So they've had many years under the belt. And I'll be thinking, wow, look at their practice. They're booming. How did they do this? How did they do that? But then I would have to catch myself, don't compare because everyone's path is different. What I realized, for example, I saw a friend of mine just recently I had lunch with. She's my age. I was in all of her expertise. But then I realized she's just having her first child at our age, say 44, just now. So she's just starting that journey of life where I'm just starting the journey of work. So I've done that child rearing thing. My kids are 18. They're about out the door. I have the rest of my life to focus on me and just to put all that I have into this. And so my availability is actually more I'm more focused because I don't have to balance motherhood or, my career anymore. It's just, now it's my time. It's my time.
Yeah. I love that so much. And I know it doesn't feel that way in the moment.
Yeah.
It's hard as hell in the moment.
Yeah.
And then when you kind of get out of that a little bit, I think in so many ways that gives you a competitive advantage that somebody else doesn't have.
And I think the background, when you go to school as a mom, you can multitask to death.
Yes.
You are capable more than capable. That's why I say they should hire moms at jobs because you can do it. I've done it in the rough times. I actually graduated cum laude, which I was just expecting to pass. And I found out the day before graduation, I graduated cum laude. I'm it was just we're very capable, and it's, you just have to put the time into it if it's what you want to do. I think what kept me in law school, because I'm not going to say it's easy, what kept me was that motivation, was that regret. It's I never wanted to feel that regret in my life ever again.
Yeah.
And, because that can eat you. And so that motivation kept me going. And if you really want something, just try it. Just try it. If you don't get in, then that's a blockage, and that's fine. Maybe your path is something else.
Yeah. Well, and you can't manufacture that kind of drive.
Yeah.
There's just something in you that's no, literally not going to fail.
Yeah.
No plan B. I can't fail.
Yeah.
My life depends on this thing. Failure's not an option. And we say that, but it's no, really. Failure's not an option. I have to do this.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I think if you're genuine about it, if it's really what the passion, like I say, immigration is not one of those personal injuries where you get that 20% at the end. It's I do it from my heart. So maybe it's like, it makes me going to work every day happy and the people that I help, happy. So still true to who I am, this kind of career.
That's beautiful. So I ask all my questions this answer. That's not what I meant to say at all. I ask all my guests this question at the end of every show. And it's really all about Nooshin's core differentiator. If you could sum that up, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to you to be that city on a hill that's different, that I can like stand out in the field and know, okay, that's Nooshin and she's over there?
I think I've lived my life with true intentions, and I think that I'm not a follower. I've never liked to. I like to be different. I don't purposely try to be different, but I have that creative side that I like to try things differently. I don't like to go the norm, and then I think my life has showed me that as well. Like I've never taken the straight and steady path. Everything has always been different, and I know I've done things at a different timeline than a lot of my peers, a lot of my friends, and they could never understand me at that point until they caught up and got to that point, and they were like, we see what she went through. And so it's been it's a learning curve of kind of being the frontier of a lot of different life experiences, which it was hard, but now I'm proud of if it could help people, it can inspire people. And I've had people tell me, thank you. Like I'll send a post about something about going to school or the timing of my graduation, with kids. And people are like, oh my God, I just need to hear this. This is inspirational. I'm thinking of going back. I'm like, go back. Your life, time is not short. Life is short. Go do you, live it how fully you want to live it. And don't live a regret.
That's fantastic.
Just give everything a chance.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
If our listeners want to connect with you, how do they do that?
So you can follow me on Instagram at Bagheri Immigration Law, or you could website Bagheri Immigration Law.
Okay.
Or Bagheri Law Firm. Sorry, I have like two. I think I have two accounts. It's Bagheri Immigration Law or Bagheri Law Firm. I do apologize for that. But I'm here located in Atlanta, Georgia. You can follow Whitney. I believe we could post my information, my contact information.
So if you will send all that, what we'll do is in post-production, we'll add all that, because we're going to have all sorts of cool little snippets and clips and mic drop moments that you shared that we'll be sharing on social media, so we can certainly add that in.
I look forward to it.
Perfect.
I'd love to help anybody out there.
Absolutely.
If any questions.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you to all of our listeners, and we'll see you again on Wednesday.